2, 1. Hey, we're live. How's it going, everyone?
Hey,
This is exciting.
hey.
Oh boy.
We're going to be talking about Muppets Now later. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah. So, I'm sure people are just funneling in now, but we're gonna be starting with the Q&A section now, because as we announced last week, our Q&A is gonna be kind of our pre-show before we get into the main discussion. So, feel free to just go ahead and start sending us questions like right away, because we're totally down to answer
Yep.
them.
So if you missed it last week, the format of our show has just changed a little bit so that a bit before 4 o'clock every stream, we're going to come on, answer some Q&As, just kind of have a little casual warm-up, test out our audio and everything, and then at 4 exactly, we'll get into Muppets Now then. uh, is Spongehenge still a pile of garbage? I don't know. I haven't watched it in years. No desire to.
I think I saw that episode once. I don't remember it. So
I do feel like I could definitely make an argument that it is one of the more interesting episodes of SpongeBob, which at least like I think Spongehenge is better than a lot of other things because SpongeBob, a lot of the other bad episodes just because like it is memorable and interesting. Does that make it good? No. Does that make it better than the episodes that I slept through or wanted to sleep through or things that are just aggressively bad like Truth or Square? Yeah, I think it might. But I haven't seen it in years, so I don't know.
yeah, I always give credit to something that at least tried and failed rather than something that didn't give any effort at all. So,
yep. CDCB asked, "Did you turn your soda machine off in between episodes, or has it been running all week?"
Dude, at this point, we've got like 2 feet of soda just filling up the room. It's like we got to call like a plumbing company or something. It just will not stop. Like probably by like stream number 14 or 15, we're gonna be drowning in this stuff. So someone please call a plumber. We need help.
Does a plumber come out and service soda machines? I mean, I guess if it was flooding the house, maybe.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, the door's locked. We can't get out. We're trapped in here. We've been trapped in here all week, just stuck with nothing but our television to watch Muppets Now on Disney Plus. So,
Let's see. What is the killer content of shadow flavored soda?
that's a good question. I would say it's probably about, I don't know, maybe 240 calories a bottle.
I actually have.
That seems reasonable.
I actually have a soda with me today. Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. I was drinking A&W earlier.
I got Mountain Dew Frostbite.
Yo, I saw that at the store. I almost
It's
bought
pretty
it,
good.
But then I bought Liberty Brew instead.
Liberty Brew.
Yeah.
Tim Whitfield asked, "Do you have a favorite Steven Spielberg film?"
Well, you know,
I'm more of a fan of Stefan Spielberg.
you know, Ready Player One was the
Oh my
pinnacle of
God.
video game movies. No, serious answer. I really like Close Encounters. And Raiders of the Lost Ark is a classic. And Schindler's List is pretty good.
I mean, if it counts, Back to the Future. He produced that. He didn't direct it, but if not, yeah, Lost Ark is pretty amazing.
Yep.
Good question.
Your thoughts on Mulan going to Disney Plus for $30? That's $30 I'm not spending.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. The thing is I saw some people saying, "Oh, well, it's a good deal for families that would have had to pay, X amount at the theater." But the thing is like you're not getting the theater experience. The reason why the theater is expensive, or at least in theory, is that You are paying to go see it on a huge screen with an amazing sound system in comfortable chairs. Not at home where there's distractions at home. I mean, there's definitely many perks to watching something at home, and I'm not saying that theaters always deliver at that experience, but that's the whole idea. So saying, well, it's cheaper than a movie, if cheaper than taking 3 kids to the movie doesn't, I don't know, that doesn't really make sense to me, especially when it's more expensive than buying like the Blu-ray of it when it comes out, or if it comes out. So
yeah, it's also weird that they're like actually starting to. I don't know if this is the start of like what they're gonna do with other movies, where they're gonna start putting movies up there that you have to pay for individually. Not really a fan of
right
that.
there,
I really hope the service does not become that.
no, well, I mean, sooner or later they were going to hike up the price, or do something, because the price is kind of too good to be true.
Yeah.
I think so. But I hope this isn't the way. I mean, again, like, I think an add-on service that maybe was like, watch movies that have just come out in theaters, right? Like for, I don't know, $5 more a month or something, and you get access to all the brand new theater stuff might make sense.
Yeah.
But like $30 for one movie on top of your already $7 thing, I mean, sure, is it a deal if you have a family of 8 and you were going to take them all to the theater to see it? I guess, but I mean, it's not a deal when you consider that they could have just put it on Disney Plus. They could have charged less for it. I don't know. I'm just not really a huge fan of that distribution method. But it's also a movie I was never going to see anyway, so I'm not personally affected. I'm just more concerned with what effects it might have going forward.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the fact that why spend $30 on that crap when you can watch the original? So, like, it's not even like it's an original movie.
Right. And it's weird because
yeah.
Onward, they didn't do that with, and Onward is definitely going to be a better movie than Mulan, probably, right? I mean, I didn't love Onward, but I mean, it's a Pixar movie, and it's not an awful live action remake with a controversial lead.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that decision. I hope the service does not turn into that permanently, or anything like that going forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Have we seen Scoob yet? I still haven't seen Scoob.
No, I have not either.
Oh. Tim Whitfield with another super chat. Thoughts on the Iron Giant and Recess Schools Out? I have not seen the latter, but the former is a great film. I remember hating it when I was younger. I don't know why. I just didn't really enjoy it. But as I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate the film way more. So.
Yeah, Recess School's Out. It's okay. It kind of makes sense as like a finale of sorts, even though they kind of kept it going a bit after that. But it's it's pretty good. It's enjoyable Recess content. And then the Iron Giant. I haven't seen it in years, but it was very much a really good movie. Really interesting and different. Let's see. Toonjay points out that Trolls and Scoob only got 80% of VOD rentals for $20, so Disney is charging more when they get 100% of the profit. Yeah, that's true too. Distribution wise, like, I complained about paying $15 for the We Bare Bears movie, but I'm sure all of those companies, Cartoon Network or Warner, has to cut with like Vudu and Amazon and all these other places that have it. Whereas Disney putting it on Disney Plus, they don't have to take any, it's all their cut, and it's more than what is traditional of a rental of either $15 or $20. So it definitely does seem ridiculous. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully they don't do it again, or I'm okay with it if they do it in the right way. I guess they give a little more content and not have it be ridiculously priced. I can't imagine how many people would pay that much for that personally.
I don't know.
Well, especially because, think about it. It's like, okay, sure, someone's got a lot of kids and they want to entertain them, but it's like Disney Plus already has like 300 other movies and shit. Like,
exactly.
Why, if you're just looking for something to entertain the kids, unless the kids are real big Mulan fans, regular Mulan is already up on the service, as you mentioned. So,
Mm-hmm. And if they really want to watch a live action Disney remake, they have practically all of the other ones on there already. So, and I mean, obviously, there's also another reason why I won't watch the film is just the controversy behind the main lead. So,
yeah, that too.
That too.
Not to get into it, but I believe she had some really not great things to say about the Hong Kong protests, right? That was
That's correct. Yep.
How do we feel about Viacom CBS rebranding CBS All Access in 2021? Are they doing that, or is that like a hypothetical question?
I don't know if they've confirmed. I haven't heard anything about that being confirmed. I just know that they're starting to put more stuff on that service.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like CBS All Access and Peacock were two that had kind of like soft launches where they just kind of put some stuff on there. Didn't really heavily publicize it. But yeah, I mean, it's happening according to Media Fanatic. Yeah, no, I mean, CBS All Access could definitely use a better name, to be honest. I don't really associate a lot of great things with CBS, and it's not just CBS; it's more of a Viacom. If you say Viacom, then I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense that it has Avatar and Korra and all this other stuff on there. If I hear CBS All Access, I'm just assuming that it's like access to CBS shows and nothing else, even though that's not the case.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like if HBO Max was named DC Universe.
Epic Gamer 127 the Hedgehog wants us to know thoughts on the Ren Stimpy reboot coming to Comedy Central. I mean, I tweeted about this already. A lot of people did.
Yeah, I haven't said anything because, quite frankly, everyone else is already saying it, but I have no intent on watching this. I don't think it should be rebooted. There's plenty of other things out there that deserve to be created over this. There's no reason for it to come back.
Yeah, no.
Honestly. And I don't see how it's going to fit in today's times anyways, considering that is like one of the most 90s shows there is.
I mean, it has a very controversial creator who allegedly won't be coming back, but even still, he's tainted that brand. Not to say you can't enjoy the show, but just for someone who wasn't interested in Ren and Stimpy to begin with, when you hear news like that, it certainly isn't going to attract new fans. You know what I mean? Like, So there's that. There's the fact that the animation style is very rooted in the 90s. You can update it, of course, but then at what point changing it, is it still Ren and Stimpy? At what point, I mean, really, like, what is Ren and Stimpy, right? It's a crazily animated, gross out, wild gag show. I don't see why that couldn't be done with any other characters, with any other setups. Really, nothing, in my opinion, nothing intrinsically about the show needs to be brought back. Whereas you could make a show with similar gross out, wacky, insane style animation. You could just make a different one, right? Different characters or whatever. What does it matter, right? There's nothing. It's not like Avatar or something that's so tied to its lore and its characters and all this other stuff. It's like, why don't you just make it a Ren and Stimpy inspired show? Like, what's the point other than branding, of course, to get more people, more eyes on it. I mean, I'm not really upset because it's not something I was going to watch anyway. I don't hold the original Ren and Stimpy to like a super high regard. It's not my personal thing, although I understand the technical. I appreciate the technicals behind it. So yeah, not really like upset, but just like it's an eye-rolling decision, and my feelings are exactly the same way as when I made that video about the Powerpuff Girls reboot. So if you want to see my feelings about it, basically everything. Everything I said there. Oh, hey, Deli. Deli says, I never got the argument of changing the reboot for it to be more acceptable. If you change too much, then it's not Ren and Stimpy anymore. It'd be much easier to make a new IP. Yeah, totally agree. Also, go watch Deli's videos. They make really good stuff. All right. Are you ready to light the lights?
We got less than a minute.
Shadow, our Stream Soda has to be uploaded to streaming service in 20 seconds.
Oh, geez, Pie. Oh, man. Oh,
gotta drag the assets into the uploader. Okay, so we're about to begin the show proper. So thank you guys all for your questions. If you have any questions about Muppets Now or our opinions on that, we'll definitely get into them as we're going here. Otherwise, save your questions for next week, and we'll be doing a pre-show at about 15 minutes before the regular show.
regular show.
All right. So let me tweet this out and we can officially begin.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Boom. Hey guys, welcome to Stream Soda officially. I'm
Officially.
Pie Guy Rules.
And I'm Shadow Streak. That's me.
And we are here this week to talk about Muppets right now. Right this moment. We are going to be talking about Muppets now. Yeah. So what's your feelings on the Muppets, Shadow? What's your relationship?
So, the Muppets as a whole is something that, especially like when I was younger, I was always aware of the Muppets, but I never really got into it that much. I was always more on the Sesame Street side of things.
Grew up on the street.
And I know yeah. But I never really watched a lot of Muppets things. I know, and this is a really fun fact I like to share. My aunt was actually a background character in one of the Muppets movies. I don't know which one, but yeah, she was actually in one of the Muppets movies as a background character, which is really cool.
If it's a Muppet Christmas Carol, then she's legendary because that movie is the bomb.
I honestly have no idea which one it is. I should probably ask her, but I mean, maybe I'll get around to that at some point. But yeah,
okay.
So that's like the biggest thing I can say about the Muppets because I never really watched it that much. I've obviously seen a few of the movies, right. But that, and then I guess when I went to Disney World, I saw the Muppets 3D show a few times. So
there's always good air conditioning in that.
Yeah. Disney is great about that. But this was kind of my first experience watching any sort of like Muppets show. I've never seen Muppet Babies or the previous Muppet shows, so this was like my first real taste of
Interesting.
that. I know we only got to see 2 episodes because it's still releasing weekly, but
yeah. We didn't quite realize that there was just 2 episodes out, but we wanted to do this. So apologies if anything changes. We're not trying to say that this is a definitive statement on the show as a whole. 2 episodes are out now, so we'll judge the 2 episodes as they are. Yeah, so I didn't really grow up watching the Muppets, again, aside from Sesame Street, of course. But a few years ago, I kind of started to get into it. I quite enjoyed the older, or not the older, but not the most modern, but the last modern Muppets that they tried to do with Miss Piggy's talk show. Who someone just super chats and claims it's awful.
Yep.
Thanks for the super chat, Metal Gear, but I did not think it was awful at all. It had a rocky start for the first 2 episodes and then was legitimately good. It's probably my second favorite Muppet thing after A Muppet's Christmas Carol, which is a legendary film, as I mentioned. But yeah, at any rate, I'm not like a huge Muppet fan, but I've definitely gotten invested in the projects, and I quite like it. I mean, anyone who's interested in animation should also probably is going to be interested in the Muppets, because although puppetry is not animation, it's still a lot of the same principles of bringing life to something that doesn't actually have life. Exaggerated caricatures and designs and over-the-top humor. That's like a hallmark of Muppets, which is why they naturally fit into like cartoon form with Muppet Babies and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not I'm not some sort of super fan by any means, but I'm a decent fan of the Muppets, I'd say. So
yeah.
So
one thing that we keep talking over each other. One thing I was going to point out is that this is a Disney Plus exclusive series, and it's also only 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's not a very long-running show. It's actually going to run only until September 4th. And I don't know if a season 2 is confirmed yet, but I know that this was in talks ever since, I want to say, I think it was like 2018 was when they first were in talks of like finding directors and writers and things like that. So this was actually planned for about 2.5 years now.
And also, I mean, this is kind of an extension of the stuff that they've been putting on their YouTube channel for a few years now. It's basically, it's like it's a half-hour program, but it's filled with like 7-ish minute shorts or less. Again, very similar to what's been on YouTube, the kind of shorts that they've been doing. And according to the chat, the wraparound segments were done during the pandemic, which definitely they don't reference the pandemic, but they're doing like video calls for production work and stuff. So,
yeah, you can definitely get that feel, especially because there's a lot of other media in the recent months that have done that, like
yeah,
Discord or Zoom styled calls where everyone's like on a camera, and I was definitely getting those vibes when I saw that. But yeah, it's interesting because the show's like presented at it's a sketch
yeah.
show, but it's presented with like a more web based aspect to it on the surface,
Hmm.
kind of like a frame story, I guess. And I do think it's kind of an interesting take in the sense that it is somewhat modernizing the Muppets, especially like with Miss Piggy's segment. But most of the sketches still feel like they could be a classic Muppets take. I mean, there's definitely some influence with certain sketches, but other ones I think work
Is this
well.
like the only
Like
thing
the
you care
game.
about when going into a new show? Is it like do
Look,
you like look
the
and like
reboot has
the
ruined
first
me.
time you see like
Okay,
a cell phone in anything, you're just like,
I'm
ugh,
instant.
how dare
Ugh.
this show take place in the modern era? Oh, whoa.
Is that a tablet? Okay, minus letter grade. You're
Oh my
going down.
gosh.
No, the reboot
Uh,
has ruined me. No, but it's like I don't have a problem with like something being modernized as long as it's not overly done, and I think the Muppets doesn't overdo it, which is good because that is something that I do tend to see a lot
okay.
in other things. But I'm fine with it. I'm glad that it's like not overdone. At the same time, I feel like a lot of these sketches are hit and miss.
Well,
Like
yes.
I really liked the game show, Pepe's game show. That's my favorite one. I love that one. But I wasn't really a fan of like Miss Piggy segments or the interview that Kermit did. Um,
I
I don't
mean,
know. I feel like this show as a whole is a mixed barrel.
yeah, I kind of felt in general like this wasn't too great. I mean, it's not like offensively bad or anything, but I just kind of didn't really, I don't know, the jokes just didn't really click with me in most of the segments. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can kind of go through them, but just overall, like I was trying to think of what my favorite one was, and I liked the interview with Kermit the Fataba. I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then Muppet Labs was also okay, but
Yeah, I like that one.
I mean that's about it. I didn't really enjoy Pepe's game show, and just like and I mean, Miss Piggy's style influencer thing like just did not land at all for me. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's weird to say because it is stylistically not too dissimilar from like the original Muppet Show. Obviously, the wraparounds are kind of like a, I guess, modernized or quarantine take on behind the scenes production humor because that's kind of like how the Muppet Show went. Is that it was a bunch of sketches and then there would be just kind of like some behind the scenes production drama going on with like Kermit and the stage managers and like all sorts of stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it is in a way just another modernized take. I prefer the documentary style that they did. I thought that was a good way to tie it to the classic Muppets, but also take it in a new direction. That's something that's not just here's another Muppet sketch show. Because the Muppet characters, I mean, as proven in the movies, they can work as more than just sketches. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I find that it's weird because the whole presentation just I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I want to articulate this. But basically, it's I wasn't really understanding at first what they were doing because it's like they're producing the show and uploading it live and the videos are like playing as they're uploading it. And I guess they're playing is it that they're supposed to be uploading it to Disney
Yeah,
Plus? Is
that's
that the
that's
whole
the
like
that's the
idea?
joke, but I think it's just a joke. I
Okay.
don't think it actually. I mean, as people were saying, these shorts were made before that wraparound idea was anything. Um,
Yeah, because I wasn't really sure what they were trying to do with that because it felt like it was acting as though it was uploading it to the service even though it already would have been existing on the service. So like
can't take it too literally,
I don't
Shadow.
know.
I mean, uh,
I know. I was just confused on because they acknowledged that what they were trying
well,
to
what
do,
what
but
confused me was that in one interview that Kermit did with BBC is they mentioned that it's like, oh, it's all improv. Like we used to work with a script and now we don't. And it's like, I guess the joke is that it within the Muppets production this is like live and unscripted, and that's why like Pepe's game show goes off the rails or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not set up like they're improv, even like fake improv. They're not really set up to be that
Yeah.
way. So that kind of confused me, but that's just because of an interview I saw. I guess was just not right. Which, speaking of that, I guess we should get to the Kermit voice thing because I'm sure people want us
Yeah,
to
I was
address
gonna
that.
bring that up.
So a few days ago, or a week ago, there was a clip circulating of Kermit and Miss Piggy promoting the show in an interview, and Kermit has a new voice actor who's done small projects with the Muppets before, but this is like his first major thing.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone lost their mind because they said Kermit didn't sound like Kermit.
Yeah.
What I want to lead with personally is that ignoring the interview and looking at how Kermit is voiced in the show, which in the first two episodes he's in like 1.5 bits, really.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in all that much so far, which is kind of surprising. But I honestly, like, in the show, it didn't bother me at all. He sounded like Kermit. Like, is it a little different from, the most previous take? Yeah, I guess he doesn't sound as like that kind of frog like that. But
Oh dear.
yeah, but it didn't really bother me in the slightest. In the show, in the interview, for some reason, and maybe it's just because it was just him talking for like a little period of time, he sounded very different. But it could also have just been that the puppeteer had an off day. Like, he could have had a frog in his throat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how about you, Shadow?
I see what you
Yeah.
did there. You're proud of that one. um, yeah, I don't know. So the whole distinguishing between a character having multiple voices is very fickle for me because on one hand, if it's like a character and they're being portrayed completely differently in two different instances, like if I were to, I don't know,
Completely
look
differently.
at
It's a slightly different vocal take.
completely differently.
Come on.
But no, I'm bringing up my point, which is
Okay.
that like if I were to watch like a regular Looney Tunes and Baby Looney Tunes, obviously they're gonna sound different. That's fine. But like I don't know, for me, I found it to be distracting because when you know a character, especially a character as iconic as Kermit the Frog, like you can hear his voice without even actually needing to hear it. Like you can just hear it in your head. You know what it sounds like. So when you see that character and that voice that comes out doesn't match or resonate with, what you're familiar with, it does kind of mess with that suspension of disbelief. I mean, obviously I know he's a puppet, he's not real, but when I'm watching the show, like, I can get myself to become immersed and believe that that is Kermit the Frog on screen. And when I was listening to it, I was like, I don't know. It's not like it's a bad voice. It sounds too much like a regular person. Like it doesn't sound like the more goofy, cartoony Kermit the Frog that I'm familiar with. It doesn't ruin anything for me, but it is a little distracting. I'm not opposed to the change, but it's like I couldn't really ignore it. I found myself constantly going back to it and being like, ugh, yeah, I don't really like that. But I wouldn't I didn't flip out like some of the people on Twitter did that I
I mean,
saw.
I'd also personally give a little more slack because with puppets, it's the puppeteer. It's not just like, well, you could hire any voice actor you want. It's like they have to be talented as a
Yeah.
puppeteer as well. And if
Mm-hmm.
someone's a talented puppeteer and their Kermit voice is like a little bit different, I'm willing to be fine with like the voice being a little off as long as it means we still get a good performance overall. But again, like I said, if I hadn't seen that interview, I wouldn't have noticed. Truth be told, I don't think it's that different. I think it's just a little bit of like intonation that's like a little different personally. Um,
Yeah, my only thing is it just sounds a little too normal, which I know that's weird to say. I don't want that taken the wrong way, but it just sounds like someone talking in a normal voice rather than a more exaggerated
it's
one.
fair. I
But
mean, to be fair, also in the
yeah.
interview, I mean, he was just like talking. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't in a
Yeah.
skit. It was just
Mhm.
here is Kermit being interviewed about his new show. Like, um,
Yeah, it's not like he has comedy to work off with that.
yeah.
So, I get
I mean,
that
people
too.
are also saying that the his previous puppeteer Steve did Kermit for longer than Henson even did Kermit, and apparently when he took over, people were saying that it was too different from Henson's. So it's, it is what it is. I completely
Mhm.
understand someone being put off by it, but like, I don't know. I'm really sick of like Twitter taking something out of context and just like it's not even in the
Overblowing it.
show.
Yeah.
Like if his voice in the interview, like if he just had a really off day or whatever, like why would you, I don't know, why would you judge the show based on that? Like I know it's still Kermit. I know he's still putting out a Kermit voice or whatever, and it could still bother some, but just like I don't know, it just kind of reeks of like taking some weird promotional material out of context and then using it to like blast
Mhm.
the show when you don't really know. There's I don't know. There's always a line between just being like, wow, I don't think this doesn't sound right, versus oh my god, I can't believe they did this to Kermit the Frog. They've ruined my boy.
Yeah. There's also the fact that, as far as I'm aware, that interview was live,
I think.
or at least somewhat live, to the point where like it didn't have the same production effects that they could have done to the show, where they could have remastered the
Well, you
audio
don't
and
have a
things
you don't
like
have a
that.
second take. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
like on this live show again, if we were to just be like, oh, impersonate your favorite character or whatever, and I was like, hey, it's Grunkle Stan, that might sound different than if I were to do a recorded video where I can listen to it back and say, okay, that was too gravelly, or that was too high pitched. Let me adjust it back. Or in a
Right.
production where you'll have a director that's like, could I get a little more? Your voice is slipping into your normal voice a little bit. Could I get a little more Kermit out of it? You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
ultimately, it's not a big deal. The only reason we're talking about it so much is just because that's what a lot of people talked about, and I'm sure people wanted to know what we thought.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. But again, it doesn't really detract from the show as a whole, in my
mhm.
opinion. Like I was more focused on what was going on. I just found myself picking up on it a
Oh,
few times.
Tunjay
So
had a good example. Like that video of a toy exec calling Professor Utonium Professor Plutonium. Like,
Professor
like
Plutonium.
that is, I mean, that's hilarious, and I definitely think that it's like ridiculous that they had someone up there. But that's not an indication of the show. That toy
Yeah,
exec
no.
not knowing Professor Utonium's name has nothing to do with the quality of the show. Like, you can make fun. I think that went around because it was funny, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, I always just point it out. I'm like, listen, every aspect of this franchise being rebooted is a mess. Like, it doesn't matter where
mhm.
you look, you're gonna find problems. But it's not like one thing necessarily. Correlation isn't necessarily
Yeah.
causation. So.
Okay. Um. Yeah. So I guess kind of going through Muppets now. How did you feel about the wraparound segments? The first episode had it where, um, I guess Kermit was just giving a bunch of notes to Scooter, about the show and like little things he wants tweaked, and then the second one has Fozzie trying
Mhm.
to constantly pitch his jokes, um, which is very on
I
brand.
Yeah, I thought that Fozzie's was the better of the two. I thought that was a little more interesting, especially with that romaine romantic or whatever it was, that vegetable dating show thing that he had going on.
Mm.
Which cool. And I did actually pause when he sent that like list of like 100 pitches. I like paused and read a bunch. There was the Pandalorian on there, agents of shtick,
Yeah.
Breaking Bread, House of Carbs, all sorts of good stuff. So that was a little fun to read. But so props to whoever made that list, because that was
Mhm.
good.
Um. Yeah. I don't know, the wraparound stuff. It's like I appreciate that they did try to make it more of a show instead of just shorts, which
Hmm.
but I just don't. I don't think either of them added anything really. I would have probably just rather seen the shorts. Like it's the same joke in both of them. I mean, it's character annoys Scooter with the same thing like three times and then it's over. There's
Yeah.
not a big payoff. There's not I don't know. I don't hate them,
Hmm.
but I'm just like, well, I just didn't feel like it added anything personally.
Yeah, it just felt like a kind of transition from one to the
Yeah.
next, which I suppose was better than just hard cuts.
hmm
So.
According to reviews, they start to make the wraparounds a bit better later. Oh, that's cool. How about so then? Yeah, how about Lifestyle? Oh, Miss Piggy. I feel like the
Lifestyle.
title of that is the
I'm
is the only thing that's actually funny. I,
I think that every episode's gonna add something new. I think that's
mhm.
what they're going for with it, which I'm totally
Yeah,
down for.
yeah, no, no,
So.
no. I like the title and stuff, and I also like that Deadly is now just in canon Miss Piggy's trainer, because that's the role he had in the last Muppet Show. And I thought he was great. I think he was one of my favorite characters. He's very funny, very very like dry wit, and pairing someone so reserved with like really really flamboyant and out there Miss Piggy is a good idea. But ultimately, yeah, the segment just didn't. I don't know. It was just like a bunch of like dumb lifestyle jokes. But haha, Miss Piggy is bad at lifestyle. Like she eats a lot and she doesn't actually exercise. Like I don't know. It's
Yeah, I wasn't really feeling anything from
mm-mm.
that one. I was kind of like, I mean, I was like, hey, there's Tay Diggs, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Tay
But
Diggs really added anything, but
no, it was just kind of like, yeah, I know him.
yeah.
I wasn't a fan. I
Mm-mm.
didn't really laugh at any of the jokes, and I was just kind of waiting for it to be
Yeah,
over.
I agree, and it's in both episodes. Unfortunately, I bet you
hmm
it's in most of them. I mean, I like Miss Piggy, like, but I don't know. I didn't feel like I feel like of all the ones, that one in particular didn't land. That one missed
hmm
the hardest. Um, so then there was also what was the next segment?
Muppet Masters.
Yes,
It was the
yes.
photobombing one.
So that
The one that the screen
yes,
cap is on stream right now.
yes. So yeah, that one I assume it's a recurring segment where Walter, who's a character from the God, it's so hard to talk about it because I can't say recent movie because that movie is like 2011. Like it's not a recent movie, but it's more recent than the older Muppet movies. I don't know, man. It's from the Muppet reboot movies. Walter's a great
hmm
character, and he was kind of dropped um, from anything Muppet related. He was in the pilot for the last Muppet Show, but he didn't actually appear in the show. Um, so it's cool to see him back. Like he's a welcome addition. He's got a lot of enthusiasm. He's like a better version of Scooter. But and yeah, I mean the segment itself was funny. It went on a bit too long, I think, but just the idea, just the cheap gags of Kermit kind of popping into photobomb all of this photography, combined with Sam, who's a great character. Um, it worked. That worked for me. I thought it worked.
Yeah.
I thought it was maybe a bit too long. And it's not a complex joke, but I don't know. Hearing him say fataba
Photoboming.
fataba yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It worked. It was like at first I was like, oh really? And then I'm like, oh no, he said it enough that it came back around and started being funny. So that
hmm
was yeah, that was the one that
Yeah.
resonated the most with me. And I kind of like that idea of maybe featuring a few different random Muppets and just kind of giving them some weird talent. Um, and but you know what? And I don't know if this is the quarantine or because they was originally going to be shorts, but the thing that I noticed the most is that um in any different scene there really wasn't more than like two or three Muppets there.
hmm
Like you know what I mean? Like I don't is that budget because they didn't want to have too many different performers or the quarantine affected filming or I don't know, but there was this kind of like I guess more hollow feeling to it than the other older Muppet productions where it's like they take great pride in having like dozens of Muppets on stage and all these background characters running around and all sorts of things. Um, did you notice that at all, or is that just
Yeah, the only instance where I can think of like a ton of Muppets being on screen is in the next one at the end of the interview
right?
when like they all come piling in asking
Hmm.
questions. But other than that, yeah, no, I was like, yeah, there's only like at most four characters involved, which was interesting. I thought it was fine, though, because most of these really feel like, especially considering they're going for the whole like web sketch thing that Miss Piggy's lifestyle show, it's really just about her and then the one or two people she interacts with. um I don't know, most of these premises, especially with the cooking show too, like you only really need those couple of characters.
So
um
so yeah, there's the cooking show um,
mhm.
with Swedish Chef, and then they bring in a guest chef. That one, like I don't know, it confused me because I'm like, is this supposed to be like somewhat educational or not? Like they the other people kind of give ingredients, but they don't like give measurements or like I don't know. I feel like it's
Yeah, I think they were just going for the fact that like the professionals just like, very neat,
Right.
organized, tidy, doing it properly, and then obviously Swedish Chef is doing whatever he feels
Hmm.
like.
I mean, I
So,
get it. It's just
yeah.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I like the Swedish Chef. He was okay. I didn't hate those segments, but it just I don't know. It didn't do anything. It was like, okay, well, he goofs around with food. He's the turkey lady gobbles a lot, and the celebrity
Mhm.
is there. It doesn't feel like the celebrity
Yeah,
really even interacted with the Swedish. Like,
the the first one, yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think the second one was better, but do you want to talk about them both at once or should
we
we
can.
wait
I mean,
for
is
this?
there really much of a
Okay.
difference between them?
Well, I actually liked because the second one had Danny Trejo
Hmm.
and they kind of had that mustache thing going on at
Yeah.
first, which I thought was cute. And then obviously there were a few digs thrown at Swedish
Hmm.
Chef, which they made me crack a smile. So I thought there was more interaction, more personality in that one. Whereas the first one, they definitely felt more secluded. They didn't really do much. I also liked the end of the second one where they Danny Trejo goes to like give him milk and hug him, and it's like it's gonna be okay. I thought that was
Okay.
it's like there's small moments that kind of made me crack a smile
Hmm.
that I appreciated. I think the second one was way better than the
Okay.
first.
And then
I also I also liked here's a modern thing I was okay with. I like that Swedish Chef ordered DoorDash and then had the dude bring in the food and then he just piled it on. I like
mhm.
that. I thought that was funny.
um and then there was the interview with RuPaul,
Yep.
which
I didn't like
no,
that one.
what even happened? I mean, the punchline was that other Muppets came in and asked random questions.
Yep. That
Like
was
I
it.
watched this
That was
two
all that
days
really
ago, and I'm
happened.
trying to remember like what the. I mean, RuPaul's pretty sweet. He's cool, but like, uh,
Yeah, I just watched this like 3 hours ago, and I don't remember what any of the questions were
yeah.
at all. So yeah, that one just kind of flew right over my
Hmm.
head. I'm not nothing against the guy. I like him, but I didn't like the short that much. So
Yeah. Um, and then in the second episode, what other skits?
so Pepe's game show was the first one,
Right.
and I know I said this one was my favorite. I just like Pepe.
Which is funny because
He's funny.
he's a character that a lot of people really don't like, or at least
Hmm.
didn't in the past. I don't mind him. I think he's all right. Um,
I don't know. I just like the way he's like very spontaneous. It's great because he's like, oh, when he runs out and he's like, "Can I get some booze?" Yeah, let's go. Flight 135 clear for takeoff, and then it plays that. I like that. And then my favorite joke by far in this whole show is where Scooter goes, "Where's the losers table?" and Pepe goes, "With you, of course."
mhm.
That was really good. I like that one. So I don't know how improv that one was, but I felt like there were moments of it. But then there were other moments that it felt like, maybe this is scripted. I couldn't tell. It was like a mix of both.
I think it was pretty scripted. I mean, that's not to say there is no improv going on, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
um, yeah,
I like
it
that
was
one.
okay. I don't know. I just that kind of like encapsulates my whole feelings about this. Is just that like what I saw was just like, eh. Like I don't I don't hate it. Like I'm not like oh man, but like I don't really want to watch any more episodes of this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of failed to leave an impact personally. Like there were some moments that were funny, there were some bits that worked well than others, but overall, it's just like it didn't feel like it had big laughs. I didn't feel like it had sketches or bits that really felt like stand out or particularly interesting. The
Mm-hmm.
whole thing felt very subdued. It felt like it was like Muppet YouTube clips. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and that was the biggest point I was going to make. With this whole thing is I don't really know because I don't have many of the other series to compare it to, but what makes this stand out from the rest? Because I feel like this, like, somewhere down the line, I'm not really going to remember much of anything from this show other than I remember watching Muppets do stuff. Like, I don't know. Is the whole, like, digital aspect supposed to be its main appeal? The fact that it is going for that
no,
website, like, uploading
no, I
thing?
think again that's just a wraparound that you're reading too much into.
Yeah, because I don't, but, like, I feel like that's the only thing that makes it stand apart from it just being another sketch show, you know?
Yeah, And there's nothing wrong.
Like
I mean, there's
that's
nothing wrong with sketch shows. It's just that, like, I don't know. I feel like the Muppets do need to evolve, and in some way, there's a way to do a show that's similar to a sketch show without it just being another sketch show. Like
Mhm.
that's what I liked about the ABC show from a few years ago, is that it started out real rocky, and it but what it developed into was a show where all the characters were putting on a production, which is very similar to anything Muppets. There were some like random bits, but there was more. There was like sitcom-y storylines to kind of help through line it all. There was clearly some amount of like budget and care put into it. There was a lot of Muppets walking around in the background, a lot of crazy Muppet gags happening. And Miss Piggy being a talk show star really fit her character very, very well. Her being an influencer online, fits it as well. But I just don't feel like she was as funny here. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it's like I don't hate this, but yeah, what really is the point other than just people really want Muppet content on Disney Plus, and ultimately, I think people really just want the original show on there. I know it's tied up with licensing issues, but um, I don't know. I just don't get it. I wouldn't order more than 6 episodes of this personally. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know if this is even getting a season 2.
I
I'm
don't
not
think it
sure.
should. Truth be told, I want to see the Muppets continue to go on and be relevant, but just I don't know.
But not as
No, I
this.
just don't want them to see
Yeah.
them do mediocre YouTube quality content. And you know what? As speaking of that, going on to the Beaker and Honeydew sketch,
Mhm.
that it was kind of funny. Like there was some funny moments. Beaker being offended by the replacement
Yeah.
and stuff. The core of the shtick of the relationship between those two worked, but the whole and I have to point out the animations during that segment were also great
I
on the
wanted to
chalkboard.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Mhm. I
Hmm.
love those. Those were great. I want more of
Yeah.
that.
No, no, no. Yeah, that is amazing. I 100%. But the whole let's burn stuff and see whether it melts or it burns. That's like a good mythical morning episode. Like I felt like I was watching like a YouTube grade, like, well, we got some flamethrowers and a slow motion camera. Let's make a video. Like it didn't feel
Yep.
like something that was made by Disney. Like,
Yeah, no, it was just let's just burn a bunch of stuff and see if it melts or burns.
and I
And
also did. Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know.
it looked like some of the stuff was burned that they said melted, and some of the stuff melted that was burned. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just an excuse for the beak R to say this beat is lit because it was a pun. But I my favorite moment of that whole thing was just when Beaker takes the beak R and puts it on the thing and then he just stares at it as he presses the button.
Yes, yes.
That was great. I love that reaction. Like Beaker's body language is incredible in that sketch, but that's like the only thing that's really noteworthy of it, I
Mhm.
feel.
Um, Pete of
But
Dawn says it's not as
yeah.
outrageous as the classic Muppet Labs bit, which is why it wasn't as funny. And I agree. I mean, the thing is that I feel like in a classic Muppet Labs, what would have happened is Beaker would have also caught on fire and started running around and screaming and
Mhm.
launching up into the air. Like I do feel like, and it was probably budgetary. I do feel like there isn't as much of that. Like, let's push the envelope on what puppetry can do and be in this. And I don't know whether it's just because of budget or because I don't. They don't know where to push the envelope next. And of course, no one is Jim Henson, right? No one. Um, it's hard to be that kind of visionary, especially with these classic characters. But it definitely felt like it could have used a little more energy, a little more craziness, a little more things that would have been complicated practically to do. I do feel like really you get two or three talented performers and a camera, and that's the show. And there's not really much
Yeah.
production behind it. It doesn't necessarily have to be highly produced to be funny, but I do feel like some of what makes the Muppets really work is that they always did try to push the envelope. There was a lot of um like in all of the movies, they would always try new tactics of like, let's show Kermit walking down the street, like let's show his legs. Let's have a puppet who is puppeteered underwater and then projected onto this, into the image and make them look ghostly. Like let's have a puppet be floating in midair, but how are we going to have the puppetry? Like, what are we going to green screen? Like, and this is just like, it's, I don't want to say it's like amateur hour because it's not. These are still talented puppeteers. I couldn't do this, certainly. But to me, it didn't really feel different from like a good puppeteer and the Muppets. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like anyone could have done these sketches feel like they could have been anywhere, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I felt like Beaker's body language was good, but it was also very simple.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of exquisite things. I only remember seeing Kermit's legs once during that photobombing sketch.
Yes.
Because I know you mentioned that detail. They do show up once. But I think the most extreme thing that happens is, I guess, that photobombing sketch when they get thrown in the bushes. That's about it, though. I can't really think of much else.
And it's tough. I agree with you, Mark, is that when it comes to Muppet projects, whenever they don't really work out, Disney just like banishes them for years. And it's tough because while I don't necessarily think this should get a season 2, there are people that are clamoring for Muppet content. And, the Muppets are a very well beloved IP. And even if you haven't seen anything, any movie or show, you still know who Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy are. And it's tough. It's tough to know exactly what to do with these characters. I don't envy it, but the fact that they were in, the fact that they held down a plethora of movies, the fact that they worked in like parody movies, the fact that they had a lot of specials and all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's some way to modernize the Muppets out there, but to me, it's just not quite this. Invader Pez brings up a good point. They did do a few. They did Muppet live shows. I remember I did see one of them on Hulu, and it very much was like the old style Muppet show with tons of characters on stage, and like Statler and Waldorf were off in the booth, and like it seemed like a big production, whereas this doesn't. And I think I don't know. I guess that is it to me. I think that the production of this, there needs to be more oomph and more pushing of the envelope and more, pizzazz, for lack of a better word. I mean, the original Muppet Show opened with them all dancing out on stage. Like, ultimately, the Muppets are like a stage show, like an America's Got Talent act, like a novelty, right? They're a novelty, and the novelty shouldn't be cheapened down to just be, well, here's yet another sketch show that you could find on YouTube. Like it should be a thing. I mean, you saw the show in Disney. That's a novelty, right? I mean, it's literally a novelty. It's a 4D show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do, because I can speak about that. I really do enjoy the 4D show, because they even have like it in what are those things called in theaters at the top? I know they
Water
have a word
squirters
for it. No. I mean, yes, there's that. I'm talking about when the puppets are in the top
in the
of
booth.
the corner. Yeah, the booth. They have like actual like puppeteers up there doing the thing like that. That's really exciting, and I think that just as an attraction, I think that's very revolutionary for the Muppets as a way of kind of getting them to be even more real than just appearing on screen, to have that actual 4D interaction. I'm glad I can comment on that, because I can't comment on much else.
CDCB.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I remember the cannonball scaring me as a kid, but other than that,
CDCB brings up a good point in that there isn't any musical acts in these, and that's another heavy staple. But they're animatronics, by the way. Shadow. Those weren't actual puppeteers. Sorry to ruin the illusion.
They were convincing enough to me.
But yeah, see, the music has always been a big deal, and most of the Muppet movies, if not all of them, are musicals. There was always like a musical act in the original Muppet Show, and even in the ABC series, there would very often be a musical performance on Miss Piggy's talk show. Maybe they should just do a talk show, just a live talk show.
Elmo already did that.
Crud, that's right.
Yeah.
Dang it, Elmo.
Elmo beat them to it. Yeah, if these were switched, if like the premises for these were switched, I feel like we'd be a little more happier with the
Yeah.
result. Not that Elmo's take, Sesame Street's take on this concept would be
Mhm.
revolutionary, but at least the Muppets might be in a better.
Right. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't. I really, as much as I just don't. I don't know. This take is just not doing anything for me. I really do hope that it doesn't burn the franchise for another few years. Um. I hope that this is just like the filler content while Disney is trying to figure out what they really want to do with the Muppets. I'd be happy with rebooting
Mm-hmm.
the ABC series. Um, I never saw Muppets Most Wanted. I want to, um, but the one that came before it with Walter was pretty good. Not the most amazing thing, but it was definitely a fun movie. So like another movie along those lines would work in my opinion. There's stuff out there for the Muppets. It's just they just gotta find it. And maybe doing like a series of
Mm-hmm.
specials. Go bigger budget, but don't make it a series. Do like a 40-minute special on a big stage with the Muppets all, some sort of wraparound story idea and a few skits or something.
Yeah, I'd be fine with seeing more Muppet stuff in the future. Like I said, I didn't even get into the Muppets for like a good long time, so I've got a lot of catching up to do, and I'm sure that there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I'd love to see more good stuff in the future because I'm always inclined to watch something new.
hmm
So,
um, Invader Pez says, "Someday we'll find it. The Muppet Streaming Show connection." uh, the executives, the streamers, and me. Oh dear. Um, but yeah.
6 specials a year, yeah, that could be done.
Oh, it can be. You're on it.
It could. I said it could
Oh,
be.
okay.
It could be done.
uh, um, they were gonna do a sequel show to Muppets Take Manhattan on Disney Plus that sounded really interesting and sounded quite exciting, but that got canceled sadly. Oh, yeah. There's so many Man, I wish Disney didn't own the Muppets because they really have no idea what to do with them. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't. Again, I don't know. I haven't really heard much from even this Muppets Now show. Like, I didn't see any advertising or anything. I only knew of its existence because some people, like, I think a month or two ago, were recommending we cover it when it came
yeah,
out. That's how I first heard about it. So,
yeah. Truth be
yeah.
told, if that clip of Kermit didn't circulate around, I don't know that this show would have even been in my head enough for us to do it this week. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Muppet Babies is going strong. The CG version. I don't know anything about it personally. I just know that it's decently popular, as was the original. Um,
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
and like, yeah, I mean, aside from that, there's little projects. But there was the ABC show, which, it did have significant problems at the start of it. So I understand why it was canceled, but it was canceled, and that kind of put the Muppets in limbo for a while. Um, Yeah, and I mean, before they did the reboot movies, I don't really know what the last Muppet thing before that was. Like in the 2000s, they kind of lied dormant. I think that's why I didn't watch or know about the Muppets when I was growing up. Really, I mean, again, I knew about Kermit and Miss Piggy and all that stuff, but like, there was no Muppet show that I watched, no movies I watched as a kid, just because it was like a dormant time for the franchise.
Yep. And I think that probably had something to do with my experience as well. I do see someone, Bork, mentioned the biggest impact the Muppets had was the Muppet Live segment in the last Game Awards. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I did actually really enjoy that. That was
Oh, what was
great.
that?
So the Game Awards last year had this segment. I forget like what the whole setup was because it's been like 8 months since that was a thing. But they had Beaker and I'm losing my train of thought
Uh,
again.
Bunsen, Honeydew.
Honeydew. Yeah, Beaker and Honeydew went out on stage at the Game Awards and did this whole like skit thing going on with, they had some lab time and it was really funny. I recommend you look it up after this cuz it's definitely entertaining.
Hmm.
Better than this show, I can say that much.
Hmm. Okay, well, what did you guys think? We've had some really great comments and input during this discussion, so thank you, chat. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'd like to know what do you guys feel about Muppets Now? right now.
Yeah, tell us now how you feel now.
Please vote on your voting device now. Mr. Mosby with the Swedish Chef.
The
There we
Swedish
go.
Chef.
What we need to do is just have the Muppets just invade all Disney properties, you know?
Yeah, there we go. Kermit can really be Emperor Palpatine.
Well, I mean, Yoda's a puppet designed by Henson, right? So,
Mm-hmm. Yep,
mm,
that's true.
mm-hmm.
Mm. Yes.
um, what sucks is that Muppets Most Modern had a whole musical about how they're a big successful franchise, and then it bombed. Invader Pez and everyone, you don't need to at me. I'm reading the comments, guys.
Mm.
Kermit was.
Do you think Kermit and Miss Piggy should get back together, Pie?
I believe in love, because love.
That's a good answer. Good answer. Family Feud.
Kermit was on Amphibia as Crumpet the Frog. That's pretty great. Let's see. Who are some of
You're supporting it because...
So yeah, who are some of your favorite Muppets, Shadow?
So I like Pepe. I know. I guess that's an unpopular
No,
opinion, but
I don't know
like
if it
Pepe.
is now. There was something he replaced Rizzo or so, I don't know. There was something that went on. I read about this once, so I could be wrong, but I thought he was funny in the things that I've seen him in. But
yeah, I like Pepe. I like Gonzo as well. Gonzo's really cool.
Okay.
And Kermit, of course, because classic.
Sipping tea meme.
Yep.
So it's funny, Shadow. So you don't mind that meme being in here?
Because it's a 1 second photo, and you would only really get the joke if you're already aware of the meme, and if you don't, you just see him as sipping tea behind the guy, like it's it works in the context of the joke that it's trying to attempt.
I mean,
it's one of those things where you'd get it if you didn't. You'd still get the joke they're going for if you don't understand the meme, because it's supposed to be a photo bomb and he's just drinking tea. But if you understand what that is, then it's like, yeah, it enhances the joke more.
it's also like
It doesn't detract, is what I'm saying.
I mean, it was also created by like it's a meme about Kermit. Like it's not taking some meme that was created and has nothing to do with the franchise. There's a logical reason why that could be there.
Yeah. It's not like Kermit is singing about Despacito or something, Doesn't have Beak R didn't play Despacito. Thank goodness.
Lewis Robson says, honestly, I thought it was okay. What made me sad was the fact that Disney only ordered 6 episodes. That kind of tells you that sadly they don't have a lot of faith in the Muppets, which is a shame. True.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Oh, there was an episode of Take Two with Phineas and Ferb with Miss Piggy in it. Hey, yo.
I did not know that.
Honestly, as sad as it is, because the Muppets, because certain characters are so well known, it's probably just that they can continue to sell merchandise and then not even do any full Muppet production, but just throw them in as cameos and all these other Disney things just to make sure the names and faces stay relevant. And they'll still make a boatload of money off of merchandise, which is lame. That's sad. It's not, because there's not really a huge incentive to do a Muppet project, especially because, Muppets by nature are experimental, right? Like a sitcom with, primarily puppets in it. Even Cousin Skeeter, I think, only had the one puppet. But they had CG characters in some of the Muppet productions, and those turned out to be ugly and weird, and people didn't like them, but still experimental, And I think that the thing is, when you're a big company like Disney and you can continue to make money just off of the merchandise, why would you take a big financial gamble on something that is going to be experimental and therefore by nature not a guaranteed success? Watch a Muppet Christmas Carol, though. that's what I have to say.
Okay, so this is actually interesting because I'm checking the Discord server, and the user story arc. Oh, I think they mentioned something about this in the chat earlier, which is why I was looking here. They actually posted some information that might be helpful regarding Kermit's voice actor change. So I'll just read what they wrote. So, firstly, this is Matt Vogel's first major role as Kermit. The reason why Kermit sounds so different is because, or that's the reason why Kermit sounds so different. He's a Sesame Street alumni and took over for Steve Whitmire, who had been Kermit since Jim
Oh.
died. Steve actually got into a fight a few years back with the Henson
Mhm.
family, who stated that they wished they had fired him sooner, so he was let go.
Oh, wow.
As Matt had already had experience puppeteering the Kermit Muppet in Muppets Most Wanted, they chose him as the replacement. So he was specifically chosen by the Henson family. The reason they can't just hire a sound-alike is because Muppet Studios is very strict in who they hire, and they try not to hire outside of the company. This is because, along with voicing a character, the
Mhm.
puppeteer must have a good relationship with the fellow cast, being able to interact well with others, as well as improvising skills to be able to go on interviews as the character, as well as singing. While Matt's Kermit voice is still a little weird, his singing voice is very good. Steve also had a weird time getting into Kermit, and his first years were a bit rocky as it took him a while to get comfortable.
Hmm.
Oh, and Muppets Now was originally going to be a series of shorts, but last minute got changed into 30-minute episodes, which is why they don't flow very well. So it was originally just going to be individual
Yeah, people said
shorts.
that earlier.
Oh, okay. I was reiterating that.
Okay. Um,
I was also just reading that
okay.
comment.
Well,
So.
what do you think, dude? Do you think this would have been better or worse? Allegedly it was because it tested better as 30-minute. Um, yeah, what do you think?
I mean, honestly, I think it would be better as shorts. It feels like it's definitely going for that format, and I know you say I'm reading too deep into the
Oh
wraparounds,
my
but yeah,
god.
it did confuse me a little bit. So I don't know. I think it made more sense to be shorts, but at the same time, at that point, just put it on YouTube. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think shorts would have made more sense. I mean, I could have avoided the lifestyle. Um, after I didn't like the first one. Uh,
Hmm.
and I mean, I think it kind of makes sense because Disney Plus kind of has their own, like a lot of short catalogs around. And it would also kind of go with the MO of trying to keep the brand relevant while not really doing much with it. Like they could air a new short every week for months versus now 6 episodes they're going to burn through very soon. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it affects it a lot, but if I had a preference, yeah, I think this does make more sense as shorts. Um,
Hmm.
it's also easier to ignore shorts, when they suck versus just like here's a whole Muppet show that I'm just kind of like, eh. So,
Yeah, Story Arc actually made a comment. They said, "I wonder if this is a test to see
mm,
which shorts work and which don't. Maybe this is just a stepping stone for something that they might do in the
yeah,
future."
that's how I feel.
Which, yeah.
I mean, it's sad that Disney didn't have much faith, except to order only this many. But at the same time, it's pretty clear this is not a major project. This is not
Uh huh.
a big cornerstone hit for Disney Plus or the Muppets. It does just seem to me to be like something to just kind of maybe test the waters on other Muppet projects. Just put
Hmm.
satiate Muppet fans while the other things are going on. Um, and yeah, I mean it doesn't feel all that different from the YouTube level quality. And I guess it's like I have a higher standard for it because it's a 30-minute show on Disney Plus that I am technically paying for because paying for Disney Plus. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah,
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But if this is a just testing the waters, I hope it's gets a positive result and we get something good out of it. But
hmm
yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna watch the remaining 4 episodes. I might just out of curiosity, but I do have other things I'm gonna prioritize.
I'm
So
not.
I may or may not ever return to
Yeah, I'm not
this.
going to. Um, so if yeah, I mean, I'm sure if there is a sketch or two that is really like amazing, people will talk about it on Twitter, and then I'll go check that out specifically. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
okay, all right. Well, thank you guys. Any final thoughts, Shadow?
No, I'd pretty much just reiterate what I had already said. So, there were a few that I liked, most of them not so much. But
Yeah,
I hope something good comes out of it in the future.
yeah, I hope so. Um, it's a lukewarm take from me. It's not something that I see it and I'm like, oh God, Muppets should never ever come back. It's something that I see and I just want something better than this.
Hmm.
I don't hate it, and I totally see how, like, maybe if you're not super used to the Muppets, like if this is a more fresh thing for you, then these jokes and these ideas are going to seem a little more original. Or if you're a diehard Muppet fan, you'll probably have a little bit more tolerance. But for me, it's just I didn't see anything that really made me want to watch more. Really, it's more Muppet stuff. I want to see the original Muppet Show one day. I really hope it comes to Disney Plus. So,
Hmm.
um,
Maybe someday.
someday we'll find it. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to Stream Soda. The archive version of this will be on the Stream Soda channel. Link is in the description. It'll be up within the next 7 days over there.
Yep. Also, don't forget to check out the Discord. And I really do appreciate the comments you left, Story Arc. That was actually really helpful
Thank
information.
you.
And if anybody has anything to share on like future shows that we do, by all means, please use the Discord as a way to post that because I read everything that's posted there. So definitely do that if you have anything interesting you want to
Yeah.
share.
Yep. Muppets Now didn't have a whole lot of material, but there wasn't a lot that kind of came out recently. But there are some pretty big, exciting, and interesting things to talk about coming out in the next few weeks. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hi Guy Rules out.